Greetings, Earthlings. It is me, Shaman Patrick. Today we're going to talk about what happens when you stumble into the paranormal. For many of us, we're not here by choice. We're not into paranormal or supernatural things by choice. Usually something has happened to us that we've been touched by the paranormal or the unseen or ghosts, goblins, aliens, whatever has come into our life. It might be all the same thing. But regardless, if you have stumbled into the paranormal like I have, stick around. We're going to talk about that today and more on this episode of the Shaman Patrick Show. Are you ready? Let's go. Wait a minute. I have a magic wand now. Are you ready? Let's go.
He was once a storm in human form, sharp tongue, cold, so hard, worn and torn, living like a ghost who missed his grave till the spirit sang out and called him brave. He got rewired by the great unknown, heard the call like a dial tone to the bone. So pull up a chair, enjoy the glow. This is the Shaman Patrick Show.
This past weekend, I had the amazing opportunity to attend the local Goblin Con, celebrating the 70th anniversary of the alien invasion that took place here in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. I'm going to talk about that in an upcoming episode, aka the Hopkinsville Goblins. You can look it up if you want, or you could just wait for me to tell you all about it. But there were panels at this con, and one of the panels that I got to hear was from a guy named Tyler Strand. Let me show you what he looks like. This is Tyler Strand. So he has been in the TV show Hellier. And if you haven't seen that show, you might recognize him. So we were never planning on going to this panel. We weren't planning on going to this panel at all. And we were there. It was 3:00. I was thinking that he was going to talk about goblins, and I was thinking he didn't have anything that I would be interested in. I wasn't interested in that. I was, however, interested in my connections to Edgar Cayce. So if you haven't seen the video where I talk about my connections to Edgar Cayce, it's on this channel. You can look it up if you want to know more about that. But so Tyler, we went to his presentation, and it was about goblins and fairies and the unseen world. And his presentation focused on how people would play with fairies and goblins in the past. And then he led up to talking about how they are affected. You know, when you interact with these unseen forces, you are touched. I myself have interacted with these unseen forces. I myself am touched by that stuff. I got some paranormal skills. I certainly do. Many of you watching this channel also have those. So when Tyler got to the point when he talked about Edgar Cayce, it was like a shift, because he had been talking about witches and witchcraft and how witches communing with spirits can often gain abilities and powers. And then he talked about Edgar Cayce. And then he said Edgar Cayce was a witch. And I've already been doing my own research on this, you know, theorizing that if Edgar Cayce were in the shamanic culture, he would have been called a shaman. But interestingly enough, occult people are not all that interested in shamans. They think it's part of witches and all that kind of stuff. It's not. It's a completely separate thing. But so Tyler talked about how Edgar Cayce played with entities when he was a child, that Edgar had contacted or been in touch with these elemental entities, and that it was an obscure fact. It was a little known fact, but it was a fact nonetheless. And I turned to my friend Dan, and I was like, oh gosh, this is probably what I needed to hear. Dan has been really excited about me connecting my life and work with Edgar Cayce's life and work. So at the end of the presentation, Tyler asked for comments and questions. And so I just raised my hand, and he asked me what I wanted to say. And I said, you know, I was raised on a farm about 5 miles from where Edgar Cayce was raised. And I feel like I played with those same entities. I feel like that what he said was legit. Like when you do encounter these paranormal entities or the unseen force, it does affect you. And, while I don't have the specific abilities that Edgar have, I do have my very own, very real, kind of weird paranormal abilities or supernatural, but they're actually natural. Everybody has them. But when you go and you interact with this unseen element or these paranormal things, your life does change and you find yourself kind of living a somewhat paranormal life. I do want to talk about my encounter with a Ouija board and what really kind of kicked off a series of events. So, in the last video I made about Edgar Cayce, I talked about where the farm where I grew up. And I really do want to go back there and talk about that. I want to talk about that farm. But, my father lost the farm. We had to move. Come to find out it was due to his adultery and his impregnating a woman who rented a house on our property. And it was very quick. It was like one day we were living in this house and the next day we were moving. It's very quick. I didn't understand how it was so quick. Nobody did. And so we were moving into a smaller house in Hopkinsville. And we went through a series of smaller and smaller houses in Hopkinsville. And eventually, the last house that we lived in Hopkinsville, for some reason, my parents decided to move us to Indiana, which is just across state lines, barely across, like almost on the border of Kentucky and Indiana. It was very disturbing to us, very upsetting. Like I did not want to leave my hometown. But the irony is that my dad was promised a job. He was going to work a job. And the only reason we were moving there was he was moving for work. He was moving for work. What else do you expect us to do? He's got to have a job. He's got to work. So we moved in with cousins. I shared a bedroom with my cousin and it just seemed weird. And, come to find out the purpose that this was going on is that this woman was wanting child support from my dad and he didn't want to pay her. He didn't want to pay for his own child. So it was very upsetting. But I remember being over the river because from Kentucky to Indiana, you have to go over this river. And I remember going over that river and I remember thinking the witches won't be able to get me anymore. The witches will not be able to get me anymore. Now, let me talk about a little bit about witches and stuff like that. As far as we're concerned, and the witches are never the people. The witches are never the people. The witch is the spirit that inhabits the person. I'm going to go into detail about that later. But, when we talk about the Bell Witch, when we interact with witches, especially the more malevolent form of a witch, it's the spirit. It's the witch spirit. I may have a different attitude about what modern witches call witches. This is based on something really old. And it also has to do with the war between shamans and witches. So if you have really strong aversions to me talking about witches in that way, please understand that I'm a shaman and I'm talking about something that has been occulted that you may not be aware of. It was told to me by spirits. And we had to deal with some of these witches in Chicago. So I'm just letting you know, it might be something you've never heard before in regards to the witch being the spirit. But so when I got over the river, I wasn't going to be these witches I felt were after me and I haven't gone into the paranormal experiences that I had on the farm, but there were many. There were many, many, many. So when I got over to my cousin's house, and I was staying there for a couple of weeks, my other cousin, I guess I'm not going to say her name. I'm going to say Amanda. That's going to be her name. Actually, her name is Teresa. She probably won't care if I say her name. Okay. So Teresa and I decided to play with this Ouija board. And it was freaking people out because we were asking it questions. My her father was really like saying that it was all bullshit. So he was asking it questions that we would never know. It was really freaking him out because it was giving him answers and stuff like that. Now, this is the story where it gets pretty freaky. We're playing with the Ouija board and we're talking to this spirit who knows all this stuff. And there is a word spelled. And I'm not going to say the word, but it was a word that we had never heard. It was very strange. I have talked about it in books and stuff like that, but I don't want to say the word now. And it spelled out this word when we asked what its name was. And I've Googled the name. It just doesn't exist. It hadn't existed before. This was a very, very weird name. And when we asked it to prove that it was real, it showed itself to both of us. I saw it, but I didn't see it as well as my cousin did. But it was a pig spirit animal, green, with a white mohawk, and it terrified her. And she ran up the stairs of the basement. We were in the basement. And she left a trail of pee. She pissed her pants and it just scared her so much. It didn't scare me though. I was more like, this stuff is real. Many over the times that I've told this story or shared it with other people, many people have said it was a demon or it was an evil spirit or whatever. But I was about to go through something really, really difficult in Indiana. And not only I would have to realize I was gay in a really small, racist, homophobic town, and my home life is going to get terrible. I mean, things are about to get bad for me, really bad for me and my family. And I think this spirit came along as a protector spirit, very protective of me. It had probably been around me for a long time, and it made itself known. It's still around me today, and I love this spirit. This spirit has done a lot for me. It's very protective of me. And it's primarily why people don't fuck with me as much as they used to. I'll just say that. He could be pretty scary. He could be downright terrifying. But he's very protective. You have protective spirits as well. And so, that started off a chain of events in my life, because here was something real, tangible, and definitely supernatural and paranormal that we knew about. I could talk to my cousin today about it. She remembers it easily. But other people in our family tried to downplay it. They were like, well, y'all must have been imagining things and y'all must have been not seeing things correctly. And so when people say that this stuff isn't true, they just haven't experienced it. Because the easy thing would be like, yes, I would have at the time, I would have loved to have imagined it. Of course I would. Oh, I was just imagining it. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please. Thank you. Oh, man, I could take a load off. Now I don't have to worry about this shit anymore. I would love to have imagined it, but it brought up more questions than answers in many, many ways. So I want to go back in time a little bit. Tyler in his presentation talked about changelings and how fairies or other goblins or unseen forces would steal children and then replace them with lookalikes. And so some people have said to me, well, Patrick, you are not a shaman. You are a changeling. And I've asked that question as well, given the entities and the playmates that I had when I was a child, am I a changeling? And I really got into a conversation with my spirit helpers today, and they indicated that there was an attempt to steal me by these unseen forces. And I remember it, and I really never had answers about it because my mom didn't remember it. But one night I was in bed. I was probably 8 years old, maybe even younger, but not like an infant. And I was in my room, and my mother came into my room, and she said, "Get under the covers, get under the covers." And there was an orange light just filling the room. And so I got under the covers, and I remember this so well because my mother's boob was in my face, and she was wearing a thin nightgown. I mean, I'm not into boobs, and so I remember it because her boob was in my face, and I didn't like that. But my mother was saying to whoever was in the room, "You can't have him. You can't have him." And I peeked over the covers, and I saw a figure with what looked like a pointy hat, like a witch. And then there were two other figures with this like witch figure. And I never forgot it. And when they left, my mom did spend the rest of the night in my room. But I got her boob out of my face. I couldn't take that. So when I did, so there was an attempt to steal me by these unseen forces, and whatever, like my mother intervened or something else intervened. It could have been my spirit guides that intervened. But just that attempt of being that attempted theft definitely had an effect on me. And I will continue to talk about that with my spirit helpers, and maybe getting feedback from other people as well. So one thing I noticed during this Tyler Strand talk is he was asking people if they had paranormal experiences. And many people have had paranormal experiences, but I have had a lot of them, a whole hell of a lot. And sometimes I think that they're not interesting or that nobody really wants to hear them until I tell somebody about them, and they're like, "Yeah, but Tyler was not impressed. He was," I wasn't trying to impress him, but he was just like, "Yeah, I've heard this. People have these stories," and he is theorizing that it's all part of the same thing. It is one unified force that manifests itself in different ways. It's not aliens. It's not goblins. It's not necessarily reptilians, but that's how it chooses to reveal itself or show itself, and what is its purpose and why. And he says that he's working on something, and he knows his mission, and he will share it when it's appropriate. The conversation that my husband and I had with him was very cool. It's cool to talk to people about your paranormal experiences and not be called crazy, loony, or that you're imagining it. Now, he was kind of derisive, and he made fun of people who believe in Bigfoot. And I'm not necessarily going to make fun of people. He didn't do that. Spirits are telling me he didn't actually do that. I know. But he said, "I have no doubt that what they're experiencing and what they believe is what's happening. But I also believe that we can be sort of cut off from understanding certain things. Like, I understand how Sasquatch are interdimensional beings. I understand that. And I understand how they could not appear to people and can flit in and out of reality and choose to be seen by whomever. I understand that. I get that totally. But for people who've never done interdimensional travel or even been able to jump timelines. Like I've jumped timelines. Merrick and I both, this is not the timeline that we're from. And we know that this timeline works a lot differently. In the timeline we're from, Hillary became president, and what a shit show. I'm also in contact with future, what we call future robots, where robots from the future are communicating with some of us, including me and some other people I know, to ensure that AI and robots do not destroy humanity in this particular timeline. So the stuff that we go through, or particularly that I go through, it is paranormal. It is supernatural. It is weird. But people who haven't gone through similar things may not understand how it works, and they may balk at it. And they may say, well, that can't be true, or that can't be real. I know now that ghosts, I used to think ghosts were shadowy, ethereal, like not solid, until I started interacting with ghosts who looked just like people. And you could not tell the difference between a live person and the ghosts that I was interacting with. And you'd be surprised how many ghosts are really out there walking around. So, but the more paranormal and supernatural experiences that you have, the more the mind opens. You can experience ultimate reality by working on ego issues and pain body and stuff like that. You can become really present, but the world is wild and mysterious, and it's beautiful, and it's not scary at all. I don't believe that spirits and entities mean us any harm. I think that humans can harm other humans under the influence of some spirits, but I don't think spirits can really do all that much damage unless they match up with somebody who wants to do that damage. I'm not scared of spirits or paranormal activities or anything like that. I have requested that things not be so weird around me. And that's really when ghosts and stuff started showing up looking like real people. But one thing that Tyler talked about was reality, and how reality is more malleable than we think it is. And that we might be waking up to our own powers, and that these unseen forces are actually us. So sometimes when we get a visit from an alien or a Sasquatch or something like the Men in Black or whatever, it could be a part of us coming to interact with us and help us in a way that can only be done in a weird paranormal way. Because the rules of reality, we call it the mutually agreed upon fictions. When you take away the mutually agreed upon fictions, when you get closer to base reality, the weirder things get with synchronicities and coincidences. And the more you work on your ego, you start to get these paranormal powers. So the more you lean into the paranormal and the supernatural, the weirder your life gets. Some Christians will say, you don't know what you're messing with. And you don't. You don't know what you're messing with. And if I had not been forced into interacting with paranormal stuff, I would just leave it alone. I think it invites too much stuff into your life. And we live in a culture where there aren't many masters out and about. There's no real good teachers teaching us how to interact with this stuff. And it can change you. I mean, it can change you for the better, but sometimes changing for the better will completely destroy your life. It's kind of like why disclosure of aliens or anything paranormal is happening on a case-by-case basis. If you're waiting for the aliens to reveal themselves en masse, they're probably not going to do that. Because can you imagine how destabilizing it is? Hey, it's pretty destabilizing when one person gets a visit from something alien or spooky or paranormal. Can you imagine if that same destabilization happened to people all around the world? Can you imagine that? So your paranormal experiences and your supernatural experiences, they can be just that. And I think it's all designed to help you become more conscious, destroy illusions, and step into your authentic self and be who you were really meant to be. And I love knowing that the connections that I have with Edgar Cayce, to me, it doesn't mean anything except validation. That I am not the only one to have gone through something like I went through. And if you have gone through something like I went through and you feel alone, one day you're just going to meet your people. My best friend knows about it. My husband knows about it. There's some other people that I talk to that know about my freaky, spooky, deaky, paranormal, supernatural shit. Some people who know about it just stay away from me. They are terrified. They are terrified. Patrick is dark-sided. He deals with demons and spirits. He's dark-sided. Stay away from Patrick. You will suffer his, no, he works with spirits. He works with spirits. And I do work with spirits, cleaning them up. I'm a janitor of the universe. I'm like a Ghostbuster. Boom. All right, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for joining me. Please check out our new album, You Want to Be Enlightened. 17 tracks, 2 shamans, 1 mission. Wake the dead and heal the living. The song I'm going to play at the end of this video is from that album. And I want you to have a lovely, lovely, beautiful day. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Don't wait for perfection's crown. You wither while the stars burn down. Some of the strongest voices rose from the roots, from the throes. Crawl out from the shadows deep. Let your scars be the vows you keep. Your mess is a lantern, cracked but true. A blaze in the dark is waiting for you. Don't stay broken, don't stay small. Document the climb, show us it all. From the mud to the mountain, the lotus grew. Now the echoes calling back to you. Why not you? Stand up, speak fire, break through. Why not you? The world is waiting for the storm inside you. Why not you? Your scars, your flame, your view. If not now, then who? Bury the jargon, kill the disguise. Speak with the tongue of the simple and wise. Don't be a mirror of someone else's song. Your edges are where we belong. Authenticity spreads like flame. Permission flows when you drop the game. Be the original, fierce and true. The key fits the lock when it's carved by you. Don't play healer, don't play saint. Stay in your lane, don't paint what you ain't. Innovate, ignite, speak it fresh, speak it new. The universe is hungry for the sound of you. Stand up, speak fire, break through. The world is waiting for the storm inside you. Your scars, your flame. then who? Don't fade, don't stay small.